The following announcement has been paid for by Perched on the Top Rope.
Hey everybody, you're watching Perched on the Top Rope, where you get to see the biggest stars in the universe, even the whole effing show, the guy you would expect to see perched on the top rope. Am I right? Rob Van Dam. Happy to be here with you. Check this show out. Bam.
Welcome, everyone, to Perched on the Top Rope. As you heard from that show opener today, we have Mr. Monday Night, Rob Van Dam.
Yes.
Rob, how you doing today?
Dude, I'm doing awesome. Very productive day. Been really busy. Got up early to start working. I've been jamming. I've been signing agreements. I've been handling money, receiving and sending, and just, I love it. I love doing business. So that's what my day's been about so far, and happy to be here. How was your day going?
Hey, it is doing really, really well. Got off of work and got set up to talk to you, WWE Hall of Famer Rob Van Dam. I gotta ask, this past weekend with Big Time Wrestling, you were originally scheduled to face Matt Riddle one-on-one. It ends up turning into a tag team match where you end up facing Chris Harris and James Storm, America's Most Wanted. What was it like to work with Matt Riddle?
This evening, ECW TV Champion in the Hall of Fame show, Rob Van Dam.
It was awesome. Pardon the pun, but there were high expectations, and I felt like we delivered. I mean, the crowd was so good. The crowd had so much energy, and sometimes you're like trying to pull the crowd in a direction that you want them to go. I mean, that's part of being an entertainer. They were like right there with us, pushing us the way that we were going anyway. It was like they were manifesting the match as it was happening, and they were just so hot, so wild. It was the biggest crowd that they've ever had there in Chillicothe, Ohio, which, if you haven't heard of that, I'm not super surprised. I hadn't heard of it until a couple of years ago, but come to find out, Bobby Fulton's got this Big Time Wrestling growing and running pretty hot. He's got a nice little territory there, and I've wrestled at least 3 times there in the last couple of years, plus done autograph signings, and he's had the biggest stars there for the conventions that he has. So it's really cool to see that support from the community, and man, were they supportive of RVD versus Matt Riddle. They were screaming so loud that I heard one veteran say he got chills, and I said, maybe it's a pinched nerve, but maybe not.
I had friends there, and I actually got to watch the match because they were sending videos and stuff, and it was really, really cool. And it was just really cool to see you guys team together. So you go and you're part of the grand opening of Raven's Joint in Clay, New York, which cannabis is legal here now. What's it like for you to be able to go to grand opening shops for marijuana?
Well, it's really cool because that is an area of interest for me. But more than that, it feels good and rewarding in a way that I've been waiting for this for over 25 years. I became a advocate for cannabis like in 97-ish, 98. And that's when I was learning not only about how safe marijuana is, but also how the whole plan, preconceived, executed, all the way through to prohibit marijuana was all based on bullshit. And man, I just felt like people have to know this. You know, I was a young adult, so I was learning that that's how our world works. The rich 1%ers that really run the world, they're going to do whatever to get to take care of competition, even if it means genocide. But what it means in this is man, the Rockefellers that make money off of oil, the pharmaceuticals, everybody, textiles, lumber. Cannabis could replace up to 80%, and that's probably outdated. It's probably more than, but let's say 80% of everything. Is the most resourceful plant on the planet. So that's why I became an advocate, because I'm fairly intelligent, and when I started learning facts, I figured there's no way that the majority of people know this or they wouldn't stand for it. Wait a minute. It's a Schedule 1, meaning the most dangerous drug we have to our health and society with no medicinal value whatsoever. That's where it's categorized, even though the federal government has a marijuana pill, Marinol. It's 100% THC, and they use it for treating patients that are dying with cancer or AIDS or something, where a wasting syndrome. They know that it's medicinal, so it's very hypocritical. First off, I thought on that alone, people would realize that there's something that's not right. Like I said, it's hypocrisy. Above that, the most dangerous drug, yet it's not even toxic enough to die from. There's not one case of anybody that's overdosed just from smoking the cannabis. Like, okay, I gotta tell people this. They have to know, because if I tell them, then we're gonna change things. It's gonna be legal, and it's gonna be able to help a lot of people, because it can really help people. Besides trying to keep it away from kids that want to get stoned, okay, whatever. There's a much bigger picture than worrying about your dumbass kids that you should be keeping an eye on anyway, in my opinion. And it's not even close to toxic enough. So during this time, while I'm trying to figure out how can I tell everybody the cannabis isn't toxic enough to die from, not even close. I can't even remember. I think you have to smoke like 11 or 12 pounds in the same amount of minutes in order to achieve the toxic levels that you need. And here's the thing. Everyone thinks I'm crazy, but you know what? They're all smoking cigarettes. Everybody smoked cigarettes like in the mid 90s. And the statistics on that tell me 1 out of 2 long-term users die as a result of smoking that cigarette. 50%. And that's not illegal. That's not prohibited. Alcohol, way worse, way worse. 400 and some thousand deaths attributed, not counting all the violent crimes and car crashes. And anyway, I just thought, common sense. I just got to pump this information out. Boom, we're going to turn things around. And then people who could really use it, that need it or want it, will be able to get it because it'll be more accessible. But guess what? It was such a hard fight. because the people that really make money off of prohibition, they're the ones in power, from the prison systems all the way up to banking, everything. So it's really, on a moral issue, I always just knew that eventually common sense would prevail. So when I go to a grand opening like Raven's Joint in Clay, New York, I didn't even know until like 2 minutes before they put me on the mic that I was going to say anything. They said, "Hey, we want you to talk to some people. Is that cool?" I'm like, "Sure. What do you want me to say?" And they said, "Oh, whatever." And they opened the door. There's a whole bunch of people out there in the parking lot. Not every wrestler would be able to handle that, but I was happy to say congratulations to the local community, congratulations to everyone at Ravens Joint, because I know they had to go through a lot of red tape and go through a lot of BS and fight off a lot of opposition. And I know that it really takes a lot, because I've been following that fight for decades now in different communities and seeing what that common sense is up against. And so it was easy to just say, man, I'm so happy to see cannabis winning and it becoming more accessible, like in this situation. And what a beautiful place. Huge menu. You look at it on the TV screen, on the monitor, and it's not like it's like overstuffed with weed. It's so clean and breathable and roomy. They have all the stuff in the back, so it's like it's just it's such a great representation of what a responsible cannabis dispensary can be. So I was glad to be able to tell everybody that I feel vindicated for all of my efforts since 97 or 98, because I always knew that eventually common sense would win. And we still got, I think, 8 states to go, maybe. But, I believe in baby steps. And man, we've been crushing it in the majority. So much that people can't even keep up with how many states are adopting new programs, whether it's citywide or smallest jurisdictions or the whole state. Either way, they're not going to be able to stand by their lies much longer and keep cannabis away from people it can help, just so they can keep getting richer. And in the meantime, they're learning how to make money off of cannabis as well. The very same people. That's okay. Whatever it takes for them to flip the switch.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a long fight. New York passed it 2 years ago, about 3 years ago. And, I know that there's still all sorts of hoops everybody's got to jump through just to get a store open. So I want to wish, Ravens Joint all the best and success, because from the outside, it looked like phenomenal. And from the photos I saw, it looked great too.
Change is hard, so people, they don't want to learn something new necessarily. But New York has, from my perspective, has always been in the forefront of this battle. And it's because of Mayor LaGuardia way back in the 40s, when it was like 37, 36, 37. Harry Anslinger is getting the whole country to adopt marijuana prohibition by lying to all of them and scaring everybody to death about something they don't know anything about. And so they're saying, okay, well, yeah, then that sounds horrible. We need to, yeah, I'm on board. Let's get rid of it. And Mayor LaGuardia said, well, hold on a second. If I'm going to actually arrest people for this, let me do my own testing on it and see if all these claims that you are making are true. And so he did. And when the test came back, which everybody can Google right now, it's called the LaGuardia Commission report. You weren't able to see it until recently. That's because the results that came back debunked everything that Harry Anslinger was claiming. And so LaGuardia wasn't for prohibition at all. He was like, wait a minute, according to our tests, there's no sign of it increasingly gathering all the youths in school at an alarming rate and making you violent. And there's no none of this. You can look it up and get the specific bullet points. I won't waste all your time with that, but the end result was it would be inhumane to prohibit and criminalize this cannabis, and so he didn't want to do it. LaGuardia, it was like 1946, I believe, and then Harry Anslinger, who was the head of what would be the DEA, but it was called the FBN back then, Federal Bureau of Narcotics. He not only did he um, ban the LaGuardia Commission report from getting out, he banned all future testing on marijuana, like forever. And that's the hump that we're just getting over right now, because as it's been becoming quasi-legal in different states, now we're able to test it. We weren't allowed to. There's been a lawsuit, really big, well-known, from the Institution of Medicine in Massachusetts since 1990 or 91, because they wouldn't allow us to test it. And anyway, it's been you're fighting the powers to be. So even if you have common sense, logic, everything on your side, it's still going to be a big battle. But we're just getting over that. Now we're testing it. Guess what? This plant doesn't just make you high. You can even take out the THC and just smoke the CBD and get medicinal benefits without getting high. And then we find out there's CBG and there's CBN, and there's actually over 100 different cannabinoids that are all unique to the cannabis plant. And all we knew about it forever was THC. And that's what people still judge it by when they say, nah, that's for the hippies. We don't need that. It can do everything, and it can actually replace so many material objects with superior product that alone is worth its own battle. Which, by the way, it used to be mandatory to even grow hemp back in the war days because they used it.
Yeah, I actually I just learned a lot. I remember, I think it was like 1936 or 1937, we even had like the Marijuana Tax Act.
That's what we're still using today. That is still
Yeah.
what outlaws marijuana. It's a 1937 tax stamp act, and it's a loophole that's how they prohibited marijuana. So if you wanna grow cannabis, then you have to have this stamp that you get from the government that says it's okay. But in order to acquire that stamp, you have to prove that you're a grower by showing them that you're growing, thereby breaking the law. So they use this loophole, complete BS. Another thing that I always thought, if people really knew that this was how we're running our country, they wouldn't stand for it.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely crazy, and I just learned a lot, and I'm going to be looking some stuff up after this, because
The LaGuardia Commission report, man, he's a hero of mine for doing that.
That is quite the history lesson that I did not know about. So thank you for that.
It's an area of interest for me,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You know,
you do also. Oh, go ahead. You do all sorts of autograph signings and stuff like that, and you just did one at Larger Than Life, also in Clay, New York.
that's what it's called. Thank you. Larger Than Life.
Yeah.
Cool.
Looking behind you with all the figures, I got figures in front of me of yours that I had signed. What's something of yours that's a favorite to get, that like people bring to you that you like to sign?
Well, you mean like specific figure?
Yeah, like do you have like something like specific that like you think is like cool, like that fans bring up to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So Saturday I was in Chillicothe, and besides the wrestling match with Matt Riddle, we had a convention all day, and I did a Q&A in the ring, and somebody raised their hand and asked me, what's the rarest action figure, RVD figure that's there? And I said, man, I was actually going to look at all of my collection after I got home from this weekend, because I was asked that on social media. And then I'm a big believer in synchronicity. I said, wait, are you the one that asked me on social media? And he said, yeah. I said, all right, I got your question on X about what the rarest one is. And I said, I really wanted to put some time into that before I answer it for sure. I said, and there's some really weird ones. I don't even know if you would count one that's kind of like bootleg. It's like a bootleg. I have a caterpillar and a chainsaw, and like the WWE is like upside down, right? And it's got a picture of my actual figure on the back, but then it's a little different on the front. I don't know if you count that. But then I also mentioned, there was a few figures have been recalled. And I have a few of the prototypes, I guess you would call them, that haven't been mass produced. But there was one that was on my wish list. There was one that I was trying to manifest, and it's the outfit that I wore. Let's just see if I can point to it behind me. But it's the outfit that I wore at WrestleMania 23. When it was the ECW originals versus the new breed or whatever they called those guys, Japanese rising flag, and so they made this, and you can see it, yeah, right here. You have it autographed by me. You got the two of them right there. So
Yep.
that action figure never made it to the stores, but I still see it. And I was told that there was like 30 or so that were actually molded, which I have no idea if that's true. And that the people that worked in the toy company got out with them. But I question that number for several reasons. One, I've now seen at least 9 in the packages. If they're saying there was 30 in the package, I've also seen several out of the package. And if those are counted towards the 30, then I've seen over half of the 30, which I doubt that that's even possible, because I'm not that accessible. It's like, anyway, it's still a big deal. But anyway, I had the figure out of the package because a fan had given it to me. But I said on Saturday that I really needed the one in the package, and I was trying to manifest a fan to give that to me. And that is it's definitely one of the rarest. By the way, they recalled it because the Japanese flag became a conflict. And over there in the Eastern, Asia, they have something going on. And the best way to describe it is the Koreans associate the flag with bad times, kind of like maybe like Americans look at the rebel flag, and they look at it and associate it, with prejudice and the war, of the South for slavery and all that. So it's kind of similar, but I wanted to manifest it. And then the next day I met you, and you brought it in and you gave it to me, dude. So that's definitely definitely goes on my list of one of my biggest scores, and that's that baby right there.
Heck yeah, man. I'm
Yeah.
I was very happy to give that to you, especially when you told me that you did not have it. So I had 3, to be honest. So
What do you
spread
think? Do you
Go
know
ahead.
anything about that mythology of the 30 action figures and then make them out of the office?
So when you told me about that, I was unaware. That's the first time I'd ever heard that. I do know that there is one particular person that has quite a few of them over in China.
Oh.
I don't know how many. Every time I've asked, the answer I've gotten is no. So, because every time he sells, I keep seeing another one pop up, and then I'm like, dude, how many do you have? And the answer I get back is no. I think he's trying to see if I'll buy them all in bulk or something, but he just responds with no. So I just don't even bother at that point.
Okay. Well, I got the one out of the package. I have it standing here next to 2 other figures that I don't think made mass production. I don't think either one of those guys are in the stores.
I have never seen those other 2 either, actually.
Yeah. And then up here, same outfit on this one. I love this. This is
Yeah.
That's just something somebody made. I guess it's not like mass produced, but I wish it was. I love that. Me and Sabu, and oh, Sabu's laying down. What up, bro? We're on puck, we're online, dude. Oh man, sometimes he needs a little help. You gotta wrap. Well, I'm gonna do this just so you can see him, but
Oh yeah, those are cool.
yeah, yeah, the guy that made those, I was like, dude, come on. I mean, what does it take to mass produce these? Because that's awesome. And here's a prototype of the
Oh
fuel
yeah, that's pretty
unpackage.
cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
Let me show you the I'm trying to look for that one with the chainsaw. Oh, here it is. Like this, I guess if I had to, I think this one's the rarest. I don't know. It's like I don't know where they sold this thing. It's got the upside down WWE chainsaw and the caterpillar that I always bring to the ring. Yeah. It's like
Wow.
something that came from a dollar store or something.
Yeah.
On the back, it does have the proper
Oh
RVD,
wow.
which I have, of course, but that's not what we got right here.
That is wild.
Yeah, so I mean, that's my guess as far as the rarest one that I know of. That one's gonna be hard to beat, I think.
Yeah, that is. I've never seen that either. That's incredible. I, I gotta ask, being an up and comer working in All Japan Pro Wrestling, uh, oh my God, the rings.
These are hard to get, yeah, because you got to get everything to get the RVD figure. So
Yeah.
but once, this was years ago, but once, I don't, for some reason, like in 2001, I didn't even bother collecting my figures. I don't know why. It seems crazy that I wouldn't do that. But after signing so many of them and fans giving them to me and whatever, I started like thinking, I don't know, I just started like collecting enough to where I was like, well, I probably have like most of them. I'd see a lot of the same ones, like, whoa, I didn't see that one. I started getting into it and I started thinking like I have to have every single one of them, and I was obsessed. A couple of these I actually got online. I think this is one here. It's got a test. Is that Jericho? Oh, it's Regal. What the hell? Can you see this on test in Regal?
Oh yeah.
That one is one of the ones, and this one under it with the big ones, Triple H
Oh
and
wow.
both of those I had to pay like $300 a piece on eBay. That was 20 years ago or something, but I don't see a lot of this one with the John Cena and the belt, RVD in the ring. I got my own one. I see this sometimes. That one's pretty rare too.
Yeah, the Money in the Bank setup,
Yeah, so and oh, this one's very rare too. The chase,
the
the
micro
chase
brawlers,
with the red eyes. If you don't know, there's a difference between the regular one and the chase.
the red eyes.
Yeah,
That is
that it is. Yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah.
I got like a bunch of prototypes of different figures and different guys and stuff like that, and just I was a Hasbro collector, and that's primarily what's behind me, and I still have a bunch of them upstairs. Um, you know, as an up and comer in All Japan, you wrestled the likes of Great Baba, Kamala, Abdullah the Butcher, Stan Hansen. Uh, did you get any advice from those legends while you were over there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Definitely, man. I really learned a lot over there. I started wrestling in Japan in February of '93. And I mean, I was super green. I had my first matches in 1990, so I'd only been working a couple years. I got trained by the original Sheik to be well, let's just say really stiff. It was very snug. he never ever smartened us up about taking care of each other. Here's how to do something without hurting somebody. Never. Which a lot of fans would expect it to be the opposite. They think training would be about learning. Not at all. It was about protecting the business and keeping it real and just boom, like being really rough with each other and trying to beat each other and trying to pin each other and I got trained like that. And then in my first year or two, a lot of the people that I was wrestling, not just me, but all the Sheik's boys, there was 2 or 3 of us, maybe 4 total. Samson, Judge Dredd, Dango, and myself, with Sabu. And Samson, not as much, but Sabu and I and Dango and Judge Dredd, like we moved forward, did all these shows. People were afraid to work with me and Dango, and especially like really green people. And Sabu would go up and tell them, that everything was real to us and scare them. And sometimes I'd find that people would stay down for the 3 count, even if we had like a long match in our mind we were going to do, and they were scared. And it was actually Mike Kelly and Al Snow who back in 92 and 91 were complaining about how stiff I was enough to tell me, hey, you gotta loosen up. You're gonna be hurt. You're gonna hurt somebody. And so he got me to to compromise, to try to learn how to work with him without using all my energy and forcing him to use all of his to counter it. And when I went to Japan, man, I learned that that I had to unlearn what they just taught me, because the Japanese guys, especially Kawada, but even Kabashi, Taue, all these guys, if I was too light, they wouldn't even react, and they were so snug with me, and I like that. I really liked how snug the style was, but it took a while, and it took me being offended, pissed off, until I really learned to give it back in a way where I actually stepped it up and then had a respectable approach to the business. So that's the most important thing that I learned in Japan, was that. And that was from guys like Kawada that kicked the shit out of me, till finally I gave it back and then realized that's what he wanted, and gave it back like I was fighting, until finally it was like, okay, now you got it.
Wow. Now on the flip side of that, now you're a WWE Hall of Famer and you're a legend working with rising stars and everything like that. What's it like when up and comers or younger stars come up to you and ask you for advice?
Well, it's circumstantial, you know what I mean? Like if there's something specific I can help them with, then I'm happy to, and I'm flattered that they want my perspective on it. If they ask something and I don't really have an answer, then I don't know, it can almost be awkward, like I have had some guys say, hey, did you watch my match? I said, yeah. And they're like, what do I need to work on? And I've been like, dude, nothing really stands out, man. I mean, I like the way you did this and this, just keep it up, man. Like I can't tell anybody, okay, boom, this is what's going to make you a big star and make you more money and make you stand out from everybody else. But I can tell them if I think that a little more attention on that is what they need to add to their repertoire. But it's not always that easy. But it feels good though. I'm flattered. It tells me that they respect me, and I expect that everybody grew up watching me wrestle, because I've been hearing that for the last 10 years.
Well, I was one of those. Discovered you in 1996 in ECW, which, by the way, not very easy with the MSG network here in New York, because you could be on it Saturday at 2 a.m. You could be on it Sunday at 6 a.m. Like ECW was all over the MSG. It was just random times that you had to look. But I do have a hypothetical question here, because I do listen to One of a Kind Pod. Big fan of the show. You had talked about WCW and a contract potentially becoming Glacier at one point. If you would have signed with WCW and become Glacier, how do you think the rest of your career would have panned out?
I can only imagine, and I haven't really put a lot of thought into this, but thinking about it right now, I could only imagine that my non-conforming nature would have prevailed and that I would have stood out so much that I probably would have been unmasked at some point.
Okay.
Besides that, I mean, I guess maybe I would. Hopefully, I would have made the character really cool, but I don't know. I don't know that my heart could have been into it. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
yeah, because of
Okay.
the direction of throwing away Rob Van Dam.
Yeah. Our first fan question comes from a name you might recognize, Rob. Bay Ragni, aka Chubby Dudley, would like to know your initial thoughts when you entered the ECW locker room for the first time.
Hmm. Wow. It was intimidating. The whole experience, the vibe that was undeniable, that resonated like through the whole building, from the wrestlers to the fans. It was the way they looked, the way they acted. It was totally different than down south where I'd come from. And it was my first experience in the Northeast, and everybody had just this different vibe about them. And all the fans, they were all adults, all wearing black shirts, wanting to see blood, wanting you to slip so they could say, "You fucked up, you fucked up." They were so opinionated and judgmental, and there was such a violent tone to the show, which I liked, but that's what's on my mind, is keeping with that hardcore style and adding chairs to my repertoire, and getting over in that way, um to be different than, like I said, down south and stuff, and all of that hitting me at the same time as the music, which I wasn't really exposed to very much, that between grunge and, I don't know what if you would call it, metal, or I don't know, what would you call, like, White Zombie and Pantera, like what style of music is that? I'm not very
Death
musical.
metal, maybe?
Okay, well,
Works for me.
all of that, like, was all new to me, and it was, man, it was like kind of like being in another world. It was like, or like being in another country, being in another place that I haven't been in for sure. Like, it's hard to describe when sometimes all of a sudden you're on the other side of the planet and you're just like, wow, this is so cool, and I'm so disconnected from what I knew is reality. This is a whole new reality, and like, wow. And I get like that on certain international places, and in my first time in the Philly arena was very similar to that.
Awesome. And I want to thank Bay Ragni for writing the question in. He's unfortunately at work. I was going to have him on. I was also going to have the next guest part of this too, because I'm so glad you brought up the music of ECW. Harry Grivas of Harry and the Slashtones would like to ask. He was always a surprise on WWF during that time in 1997, working with Jerry Lawler and stuff like that. Ask if he ever had to be snuck into buildings and how.
I was I was just I was just thinking, what kind of question does Harry have about that? He's the guy that drove me there and got me in. You know what? There is a story, but I can't remember what it is. It seems like it was Lake Placid. It seems like that I debuted, and I can't remember what the deal was about getting it into the building. Did Harry put something on me? I can't remember, man. We got to go back to Harry on that one. I know there was a funny story. I don't know if it had to do with my name, telling them I was someone else, or Harry saying he was RVD to somebody that was an idiot. But whatever it was, we thought it was funny and funny enough to where Harry wants me to retell it. But unfortunately, I've replaced those brain cells with something else, I guess. I
Well,
remember it was
thank you.
Lake Placid. It was Lake Placid. I'm almost positive.
All right.
Lake Placid. This is Lake Placid, New York, right?
Yeah, there is.
That's where it was then.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank Harry for asking that. Unfortunately, Harry couldn't join us because he had dental surgery a couple of days ago and he's recovering from that. So wish him the best wishes as well.
Yes.
I want to flash forward following up with the being snuck into buildings and stuff because you were a surprise entry for the 2009 Royal Rumble, and the fans erupted when your music hit.
After avoiding an elimination by 3 men, Kane now began to pick people off. Triple H is about. Wait a minute! It can't be! We told you the Royal Rumble was unpredictable! Rob Van Dam and the Superstars in shock! The fans on their feet! 16,000 plus!
Did you have to be snuck in back then too in 2009, or how did that go?
No, I can't remember what town it was in, so I don't know. But sometimes you just drive your car into the building because they have indoor parking, or sometimes you drive in and drop the car off with a valet, or sometimes you park outside and you walk through. And when you got to be there at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon for a 7-8 o'clock show, then you might get exposed to a minimum amount of hardcore fans that are there early to see you coming out of your car or whatever. But it was probably a situation like that. I wasn't snuck in. However, recently I got snuck in when I did the AEW show for the first time, and they actually put like a black curtain over top of me and stuff. And I was recording it on myself, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I guess I'll put it on my YouTube page when I get around to it. But they pushed me in a wheelchair with a black curtain over me all the way into this private dressing room, and then left me. And then I was like, okay, great. Now I got 5 hours. I don't even feel comfortable walking to catering because I don't want to blow their secret. They're working so hard. Somebody get me some chicken.
Oh man, that's great. While in ECW, how important was it for Rob Van Dam to have Sabu with him, but also Bill Alfanso as a manager? Because like your ring work truly spoke for itself. I mean, it's same with Sabu and Bill Alfanso. Like it was like the perfect trifecta in ECW.
Yeah, so me and Sabu on that, always loved having him there. He's family. So we had each other's backs always, all over the world, in the ring, in bars, on the street. I don't have anybody else in the business that I have that relationship with. And it's partly because he trained me. I met him when I was 18 years old. And so he's always been a part of my adult life, always. And because of that, it's always been great. And during those times back then with ECW, he was my mentor. He always was. Back then, I was young enough to where anything he said was just gold to me. So that was a whole different perspective as far as like making decisions, because it really takes a lot to navigate through this industry. and be able to last for a while and know make the right decisions, just like anything in life. But you can imagine some of the intersections you get at here. And anyway, back then, if Sabu said, "Hey, these guys suck," then they sucked, It's like, "Hey, these guys, don't talk to. They want to talk, they want to talk to us about the match. Don't even talk to them. Don't even talk to them, and don't give them anything in the ring." I'd be like, "All right," because that's how I felt. Sabu was the top guy back then, the top indie guy. He was making top money in New Japan and then FMW around that time. When I just came into ECW, he was like the #1 indie guy, and I just was like a soldier for him, is how I felt. So that meant whatever he says goes. And took a while till I had enough experience and leverage to be able to make decisions that might not be consistent with his. But I loved having him there. And then when I got Fonzie, it was great. Fonzie was like part of the family. We always had fun with him, and he not only thought the world, obviously, of me and Sabu, but he would go out of his way to be as much of a real manager as possible. We're on our way to the hotel, and he would call us, say, "Van Dam, I went to the hotel and I made sure we got the biggest room with a big view for you when you come and check in." And he would do like little things like that, as long as it didn't cost him extra money.
Oh, cool. Being the longest reigning ECW TV champion, did Paul Heyman give you any insight of like how long that the run was gonna go for? Because I listened to the WWE documentary and stuff, and Bam Bam Bigelow in that match, phenomenal match, winning the championship. I just remember that it was the network. The network wanted you to relinquish the title, and you did. What do you know? What plans Paul had for you if that didn't happen?
I don't. What it looked like was materializing was the universe was building up RVD versus Mike Awesome. And Mike Awesome was the heavyweight champion, and I'm the TV champion, which often is considered a secondary title, but I was making the television championship mean as much as the heavyweight championship or more. I was main eventing the shows. I was having the best match on the card. People were chanting for RVD through a lot of the other earlier matches. And I liked that I was adding that leverage, and I looked at it like we were two pillars on opposite sides of the platform that we were building. And when ECW was big enough, because we were always talking about we're this far away from having a network deal on TV and this and that, but at the right time, and our crowds were growing, that we could see in person at the house shows, as well as I think just worldwide. More people were getting to see us or being familiar with us. But I wanted to wrestle him. I don't have any idea what would have happened, but Mike left, went to WCW, and I had broken my ankle and had to drop the television championship. But I have no idea what would have happened.
Okay. All right. Did you have any say in the design of the Money in the Bank briefcase that you got to carry around when you won it?
Well, yeah. If you watch the pay-per-view when RVD took the briefcase, it was black. It was completely black. It was just a Halliburton, plain old black briefcase. And my airbrush artist, Joe Holland, decided to paint it up. And at first I was like, what if they're angry? What if they're mad or whatever? He was like, it's just a Halliburton. It's easily replaceable. He might have even bought a second one to paint, or I thought that he did anyway. He said recently that he didn't, but he he painted it and I brought it in and they loved it. And I wanted to make like little like lunchbox boxes that look like that to sell when I was Mr. Money in the Bank, which for whatever reason, of course, they didn't do. And I can't say necessarily that they screwed me over because I don't even remember if I had the right talks with the right higher ups or not. But um now they do it all, now not only is the briefcase colored always, but they also sell it as merchandise for the fans. And by the way, since you bring it up, just this guy this guy doesn't get
Dad.
a lot anymore because I don't bring it on the road because I'm afraid the paint is gonna chip on it. It used to chip like every week when I had to travel with it, and I would have to send it to my airbrush artist, and he would like touch it up and stuff, and it wouldn't be that easy to do right now. So I baby it, but I would love to bring it to a convention sometime when it's the right time, so that fans could have a picture with it or whatever, and maybe WWE should pay me to do that. We'll wait for the next Money in the Bank and throw it out there to the whole new office.
Yeah, right. I've bought in a couple of those briefcases when they do them. So like, yeah, I want an RVD one, WWE. Let's go back to the archives here a little bit for WWEshop.com.
I would approach them with ideas that I had, sometimes they get turned down or sometimes they'd fall through or whatever. But there was Vince was always open to that and stuff. One time I went to him and said, hey, whoa, I said, hey, you would be interested if I had a guy that worked for Bayer Aspirin that wanted to do like wrestlers Flintstone vitamins, right? And he was like, well, hell yeah, I'd be interested. And that was after going through red tape of trying to set up a meeting and the middleman guy just bullshitting me like the whole time. He's like telling me that he's telling Vince. And then I go, what'd he say? What'd he say? What'd he say? And then finally I realized he didn't even talk to him about it. And I was so pissed. I wanted to smack that guy. And I went straight to Vince and he was so cool about it and stuff. But then on my end, the guy that knew the guy at Bayer, said that the guy at Bayer flaked or whatever. And I was like, damn, man, that would be cool as hell.
That would have been that
Right?
would have been awesome, dude.
Go with
Wow.
me right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's go. Let's go.
When you cashed in Money in the Bank, became WWE champion, the crowd was tremendous. I mean, obviously for where, it was, the ECW reunion pay-per-view. What was that night like for you?
There was no other night in my career to put that up against, to compare with it. By the way, it is 4:20 in the clock in the corner here.
So let's yeah. Cheers.
Ahead. Cheers. So dude, I'll try to explain it this way. I've been wrestling like 35 years or something. That was the one night out of my whole career that was my favorite. Not only because I was in phenomenal condition, I felt like a superhero. I felt indestructible. The reason I felt that was because I had all the momentum of ECW pushing me, and that was the energy that I refused to give up on my whole career. So if you look at it, the build up for that match was everything I ever did up till that point. I was fighting for the hardcore extreme style. I was fighting for thinking outside the box, not holding back, giving the fans the extreme entertainment that people like me are able to do, that have a little more to show. Bam, the fans were 1,000% with me, and they were all against the opposition, which was what the current product was forcing the fans to accept as wrestling. That's how they saw it. They were like, no, you've been telling us this is wrestling. You're forcing us to swallow this because it's the only thing available. But boom, this alternative stuff is so cool. And man, what a great position that was to be fighting for that and to have been so instrumental in making it happen. That's another reason that night was so special for me, because I was the one in Vince's ear saying, dude, let's bring back ECW. And then when it ended up being that one night stand, that it was the second pay-per-view, obviously, because the first one I was injured. But that was my idea, Vince, just give us one night. Let's do this pay-per-view one night only. That's what I called it even when I was talking to him. Just one night. And you don't need a storylines and stuff, because the night is the story. Just let us be the artists that we prefer to be. That would be awesome. And I was like, I thought he was gonna say, well, Rob, the reason I don't do that is because blah blah blah. And he said, Rob, that's a good idea. I think I could make a lot of money with that. And I was like, whoa, I'm getting an erection. Let's do it. Let's go. Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome to hear. Flash forward now, TNA debut in 2009. You defeat Sting in 10 seconds. Who came up with your debut in TNA?
Well, it was a combination of things. I really fought to get the Rolling Thunder in, because the kick off the top rope is one move, and that's all he wanted. But I thought, dude, I could almost do the Rolling Thunder in as much time as it would take for a normal guy to drop down and cover you. At least then. And for me, I felt like it was taking care of him more because he's getting it with two moves, whatever. But there was a little, and eventually, all right, but let's just do it really quick. And then the thing with the bat, he's going to hit me with the bat. And we didn't want it to be long at all. And he even said, I don't want to beat the shit out of you. No. So I'm thinking like one time. Perfect. I think that'd be great. Yeah. So boom, hits me. And Hulk Hogan's supposed to come down the ramp, and him and Sting are supposed to do their thing, and then I'm done. But there's no Hulk. And I'm like, how long can I lay down on the ground selling this baseball bat to the gut? And eventually, you know what? I felt recovered. So I got up. He came after him and he hit me again. And, same thing. A few seconds later, it's like, well, I can't stay down. I got up and he hit me again. It ended up beating me with the baseball bat so much that people were really surprised that they would want to bring me in for my debut in that way. But that was that was me working. I am committed to the fight in a way that other people aren't. I remember specifically watching TNA before I came in, and I saw Ken Anderson take the lightest looking chair to the back, tap, and he went down like he got shot, like he was dead. Someone picked him up on the shoulder, carried him down to the ring, if I remember right. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, I'm not that guy. So, it would have been better probably to fucking crack me in the head once so I could have laid down for 20 minutes or so. But I really, the way I look at it, I took one for Hulk Hogan. Don't regret it, because he's the man that I watched growing up. And he's the one that, if it wasn't for him, I never would have been a wrestling fan. I never would have been wrapped up in this and wanting to be a pro wrestler. And he's always been cool to me. And he's the legend. He's the most recognizable man on the planet that I know of. And so, for me to take a couple of chops for him, no problem.
Awesome. Yeah, he was the first that I remember as a kid watching as well. So even if you ask non-wrestling fans about wrestling, they know who Hulk Hogan is.
Yeah, for better or worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you watch Sting's retirement match?
I didn't get to see it. I just saw a couple of the highlights, like Darby Allin killing himself off the ladder or whatever. I saw
you you had praised Mercedes Monet. Did you watch her debut in AEW last night as well? No.
Not yet.
Okay. Okay. Um, so my next question is, you've only wrestled in New Japan Pro Wrestling once at Wrestle Kingdom 5. What was that experience like?
So Mr. Inoki was there, and that was really cool. Because he's one of the OGs. There used to be one wrestling company way back in the day. I think it was in '73 that they split up. Ricky Doza was the guy, Ricky Dozan, that owned the company. But in what I think was '73, Giant Baba and Mr. Inoki split up. Giant Baba had All Japan. Mr. Inoki had New Japan, and I wrestled for All Japan a lot. So for me to wrestle for New Japan, it was a cool experience for me to add to my resume. Not to mention make me more well-rounded, but also that extra exposure goes a long way in your star power when you're building your marketability, which is what our business is really all about. It was really cool that I got to work for Mr. Inoki. I had wrestled for Simon Inoki, his son-in-law, for IWGP several years before, but even though it may have been somehow weirdly affiliated with New Japan, possibly, definitely not the same thing. And it was really cool to meet and to work with Mr. Inoki. We all got to go to his restaurant, which was super cool. There's a ring in there and all this wrestling memorabilia. And we all went out on the mic and did some promos to hype up the match. Some of them ended up physical,
Yeah.
It was a really good time, and I was happy to know and feel like that they valued my as I said, my star position in Japan. I've been wrestling in Japan since I'm 22, just turned 22. And they saw me go from being a young boy to a big star. So anytime I get a chance to go back to Japan, it feels really good. It feels good to connect. And I like being there also. But it also feels really good to get that love that I know has been long term from the people that helped put me where I'm at right now by buying tickets and watching me back in the day.
Awesome. And, speaking of New Japan, All Japan, I did happen to see that you have on your eBay store the Wrestle Kingdom 5 your pass on your eBay store. A lot of fans are into collecting, ring worn gear and items like that. And one thing that you're not shy with is with your eBay store is you put stuff up like that all the time, and there's stuff up there now.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, the laminates, because Katie just gave me a couple laminates like 2 hours ago and said, "Is this garbage?" And I said, no, fans like that stuff. Let me send it to our eBay guy. And I put it on a big stack of stuff from all the Comic Cons or wrestling shows that give me those. It's not something that I feel like, obviously I collect RVD, as you can see, and not just figures. I have, like you saw the Money in the Bank briefcase. I have different trophies or awards that I won and plaques and there's certain things that I keep, but as far as like keeping all of the laminates, I just figured that that's going to mean a lot more to a fan, if they want to buy it and say, wow, I got this from RVD appearing at the New York Comic Con or whatever it is. And so that's one of the many objects that I put in a box and send off to my eBay guy every once in a while. I'm not good at getting rid of outfits, by the way, anymore. Like I used to do that for that same reason, because I was like, man, I got a closet full of all these outfits, and most of them, are either stretched out or faded, rotting. I'm not going to wear them again. And they're just sitting there. But for a fan, if they could have it, put it in a frame, put it on the wall, put it at their store, whatever, it'd probably mean a hell of a lot more. So I started being okay with selling them, but it wasn't too long into it. It didn't feel right. And WWE wanted me to find an outfit, a WrestleMania outfit that they could put on display for the fan interaction, and I couldn't find one. I'm looking through all my outfits and I couldn't find one. And it's possible I still have it and it's just, not where I looked. But either way, something hit me and I can't do that anymore. I get asked all the time, dude, how do I get some ring worn gear? And the only answer now is buy it from someone else, third hand.
Well, I gotta ask, what was it like to get the WWE 2021 nod for the Hall of Fame?
It was awesome. And a lot of people don't even realize it. It was done in front of an empty building during COVID. And so the exposure was limited. I still have fans saying, dude, they need to put you in the Hall of Fame. But it was awesome. It was something that I used to get asked all the time if I expected it. And no, I always felt like I wouldn't be surprised if it happens. I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't happen. And that's because I know how things work, how politics are, and I could just see that I shouldn't expect either way. So when I got the phone call, I was thrilled. It was Johnny Ace, and he was saying, Vince wanted to know if you'd want to be inducted into the Hall of Fame next year or this year. And I was like, of course, it would be it'd be an honor. Somebody, it was either Bruce Pritchard or Michael Hayes. I think Bruce told me later that Vince actually thought that I was already in, and they had a conversation about me, and they said, no, Vince, Rob's not in the Hall of Fame. And he's like, what? We need to put him in. So called me. I was very happy to do it. It goes a long way, like now that's part of my title. People when they introduce me, they like to introduce a Hall of Famer, whole effing show. So it became like, it's part of my name now. It's part of the platform that my image now rests on. And I used to think maybe you had to retire in order to get into the Hall of Fame. I didn't know, but I'm still going strong, still wrestling, not for WWE. I don't know if I will or if I won't, or if being in the Hall of Fame has anything to do with that. Maybe, I don't know. I'm an independent contractor, and all I do is sift through options that come my way. That's all I've done since I'm like 21 years old. When they call, I'll pick the phone up and see what they got to talk about. But in the meantime, I got other people calling. So, if you need me to be hungry, you're gonna have to wait a while because I can't. I mean, I've been hungry since I was in my early 20s.
Yeah, right.
It's been a good career.
Oh, tremendous. I gotta ask, what was it like for you the first time that you signed WWE Hall of Fame 2021 on a 8x10 or a figure? What was that like for you?
It was really cool. It was very rewarding. Right away, the Funko Pops, they come out, and now everybody wants that. So now it's a little more work. Instead of RVD, everyone's like, can I get full signature Rob Van Dam and then 5-star and Mr. Money in the Bank? And then on the side, can you write the whole effing show and Hall of Fame 2021? Sure, dude. But I love that, though. As you know, I want everyone to go home with a really cool piece of art. So people that come and meet me and get my autograph know that. And my RVD is a pretty cool looking RVD too, but I guess it's not as beautiful as the Rob Van Dam. So while my hands are still working, I'll be doing them both. But look for me to switch sometime in the near future. And I must say, I only do RVD now. And everyone that's got a Rob Van Dam autograph will know that was pre 2027.
Oh man. Well, I absolutely love the figures and the autographs that you've done on these. Could never thank you enough for that.
Oh,
Really,
how
really
cool my
cool.
autograph is. Can you put it up to the camera? I'm very proud of it. I don't know if we can see that, but yeah.
I'll bring up both.
A lot of fans took the time to tell me that they appreciate, me taking the time and making it look like bam, beautiful.
And this is the one where it bled.
Okay, yeah, yep. That
But-
one I had to buy a
And
little bit.
I'm happy that both, because I'm keeping both. Like they're staying. They're not
Okay.
going nowhere.
Yeah, that's so cool. And a lot of wrestlers will just put like a scribble or whatever. Yeah, I mean, I would get through lines a lot quicker if I did that. Take pride, man. I take pride.
Well, Rob, huge fan of One of a Kind Pod. If you would like, take this time to plug your show, social media, anything you want to say to the fans.
Yeah,
The floor
matter
is
of
yours.
fact, I'm gonna be filming the next episode in an hour and a half from now. It's something I've been doing for a while, and the more people that tell me they watch it and enjoy it, people that are fans, also the boys, other wrestlers, tell me that they're catching it, and that's very motivating. So if you do watch it, try and leave me a comment. And it's on Premiere Access, but then the clips go to my YouTube page. My YouTube page is The Real RVD, just like all of my social media. And so there's also another YouTube page, One of a Kind, that also has some clips. And so wherever you catch it, if RVD's talking, you're going to get a different perspective than anyone else is going to give you, because I don't find that I think like too many people, at least not for too long. Maybe in a small little area, if you only talk to me for 30 seconds, but that's what I think I have to offer, and I love it. I have a good host, Dominic, and I love sharing RVDology, which is my ideology, my value system that I personally use throughout life, that I've developed over hundreds of years. And I like to give stories where I learned these lessons, and I'm consistent. It takes a lot of balls to go out there and say, boom, I think, if you want to be like this, boom, 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 that's fine. But that ain't how I do it. I think you should be this way, this way, this way. I actually am proud of my own values. So a lot of people aren't. A lot of people will tell you that they're not a good person. That is scary if someone can say that. But I can tell you, I'm the most honest person I know. Boom, right alone, right there. That separates me from 99% of the people that you know. How many people will tell you that? Unless they're lying, right?
I gotta
You
agree
look
with you.
like you're lying right now, am I? So
No.
no, and I'm proud of that. So if people accuse me of not being honest, then I'm like, well, I got nothing to say to them then, because I got no credibility with them. They're not going to believe what I'm saying. I'm done. And I've lost friends over that. And that's because I really appreciate my value system. We all have different values. And that's the number one thing that everyone needs to realize. It would resolve almost every single conflict ever if we could just put that into perspective. But that said, my value system works for me. I'm happy to share it with those who are interested, whether it's from watching my RVDology episodes on my YouTube or tuning into One of a Kind.
Well, I appreciate all of that because I am a listener and I appreciate your values. And I want to thank you for coming on the show today. I really, really appreciate it.
How about this? One of a Kind podcast. Tune in for the stoner, stay for the philosophy. We'll work on it.
And ladies and ladies and gentlemen, remember, spoiler freeze, the way to be. We're out.
Boom. Thanks, dude.